Hi, my name is Gustavo Aguilar Velez, and I decided to do my career presentation on space farming. A little bit of background on why I decided to do my career on space farming is because when I first visited the Biosphere 2, my interest just really peaked on the whole biosystems part of it. I really enjoyed learning about how wastewater is being treated, how plants were being grown, and the thing that really stood out to me the most was the lunar greenhouse project that they were working on. Controlled environment was something that really kind of spoke to me, and that's why I decided to work on space farming. So a little bit of background on what space farming really is. It has a large focus on controlled environment agriculture, most of it being hydroponics, vertical systems, aquaponics, and just because growing food on space in space has such a limited amount of space for the food to grow. It's really important to take into consideration the same aspects that are taken into consideration for controlled environment agriculture. Space farming kind of speaks for itself. It is growing food on Mars or on the moon. It really just depends on which environment will be habitable first for humans. So the research really just focuses on those two for right now. Another thing that's really interesting is that it can also be farming on a space colony. And what's really interesting about this is that farming can be either on a small spaceship, sort of just to travel on there, or sort of like think about like Wally, how people are living in a spaceship. You obviously need to be able to maintain food for those people who are living on that space colony. So it really just depends on which situation you're in. But it's really interesting how you can provide food in such small amount of space. And then what's really interesting from it as well is dealing with challenges of water supply. As many people know, once you're on the moon or on Mars, you don't really have a direct source of water. So learning more about how hydroponics and aquaponics can be implemented into space farming is something that's really interesting. So requirements, it really just varies. Obviously, you need to have a Bachelor of Science in Biosystems slash Agriculture Engineering, depending on which university you're studying at. And most of them require 1 and 2 years of experience. However, it does vary from company to company depending on what they're looking for each space farmer that they're looking for. It also just depends on the type of experience that you have. Say, for example, you worked in a really well-known place and you have an outstanding resume with a decent amount of like internships and stuff like that. You could easily be hired straight out from graduation, or if you have a weaker background, some people would like to know that you have a little bit more experience before they hire you on to space farming, just because it is such something that's a lot newer and a huge project that's being implemented. So salary, it averages about 80K a year, but however, it does vary on experience and company to company, just how it would um, for the requirements. It really just depends on what they're looking for, how much you how many years you've been in the industry, but on average, it is about 80K a year. The workload, so research experiments and engineering designs, just because it is something that is fairly new and because space farming has a lot of high risk factors because you have to take into consideration the pressurization of the air, the lack of water supply, the lack of lighting. It does involve a lot of research and experiments. It involves a lot of trial and error. So it is something that um, will require that's engineering skills that we learn in school. So work as a team, different branches of specialty. So it can include electrical, mechanical, and computer science just because since it is a controlled environment, it is a greenhouse. It does involve that electrical aspect of it. So you have to be able to really truly work as a team and correlate with those other team members on what is required for the food to properly grow in the environment it is in. And oral presentations, like I did say, it is something that is fairly new. So it is very important to present this research to people who are developing new greenhouse methods, new control environment methods. Many people do want to know if this is a reliable source for people to grow food once Mars or the moon becomes inhabitable. Companies currently hiring for this. NASA is a big one. I know SpaceX is also hiring. Orbital Farm is another one that's actually looking for space farmers. There are many more companies that are doing basic research for it, not full on sending people to the moon yet to do stuff like this, but there are many companies that are in the beginning stages of doing stuff like this. And then interests for me and myself, it's a new career that explores control environment, agriculture, and new environment, like I did say. Um, it does put together a lot of stuff like the hydroponics, vertical farming. So it's something that puts everything up together in a little box and everything that I truly enjoy into a little box for me to work with. It has many opportunities for new learning just because it is something that's relatively new to the world. It really just it involves a greater deal of research that can open up new opportunities for me and my career in the future. And my final interest, and sort of like an open-ended question to end this off, is like, what does this mean for the human race? It really just, it's an interest to know what more is there for the human race to learn about space farming. And I hope that kind of makes sense. It's just interesting for me to know that if this can be accomplished, what more can be accomplished in the future. But that pretty much ends it all. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. And thank you for your time.